a good partnership test is this, right? A lot of times people take partners because they don't want to part with money now.
Okay.
Right? So instead of paying somebody a certain amount of money, you'll offer them equity. If I can't look across the table and see the same value in 5 years, I'd rather pay for it now.
Welcome to another episode of Wheels and Wealth, where we're discussing all things beautiful, sexy vehicles, as well as successful entrepreneurship and intrapreneurship. I'm your host, Khalil Marcano, and today with us, we have successful entrepreneur Bill Bostic, the president and founder of Axis Construction Management, and he's brought his beautiful Lucille 51 Mercury Lead Sled with us on set today.
The star of the show.
Welcome to our show, Bill. How you doing, man?
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. So funny story about how we met. I saw this vehicle parked up in front of one of my favorite restaurants, and I didn't know what kind of car it was, right? I didn't know
that a lot,
who the manufacturer was, but I knew the car because about a week to 2 weeks prior to seeing the car, I had just watched Cobra, which is a 1980-something Stallone movie, and obviously you know the movie.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
That's where I got my inspiration for the car. I love it.
The car just looked, the design on this thing was just so many years ahead of its time. It looked like a futuristic car in the movie.
Yeah.
And what a beautiful example of this thing that you have on set with us, man. So thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having us. Thank you for having us.
So tell us, what is Axis Construction Management?
It's a construction management company. We service industries from medical industry to multifamily residential to commercial tenant improvement world.
Okay.
It's a medium-sized company. We do somewhere between 50 to 60 million a year in annual volume.
50 to 60 million a year in volume is considered medium.
In the construction world,
we hear numbers like that. And to me, those are large numbers, 50 to 60 million a year.
Yeah, I guess it's all relative. We compete against other companies that are 5 times that volume.
Wow.
So,
do you beat them?
Yeah, I'm a competitive guy. We're a competitive firm. I'm blessed with a great staff and team. But Axis is a great company. It's has a lot of characteristics that I think differentiate us from the masses out there. One of the things that we do is we do our own development in conjunction with other real estate partners. Okay. So instead of just doing the build out of some of the projects, we'll buy equity in them if we really like the deal, if we believe in the product, if we believe in the developers who become our partners. So the story is 20-something years old. I have a great partner who's just retiring now and living a great life. And he lives in Merritt Island, Florida, and calls me in the morning and let me hear the birds chirping in his backyard.
Well, why are you? Do you have retirement on the horizon for yourself, or?
We're
going for several more years.
Oh, it'll be. Ideally, eventually, we'd want the company to be executive owned and run. Mm. So my partner is retiring, and some of the key members of the staff are buying those shares. And eventually, I'll divest my shares into a company that's owned by the people who run it.
Please take us through this and let me know.
This is a 51 Mercury Lead Sled, but this is not a factory 51 Mercury Lead Sled. This is a restomoded, an off-frame restoration, completely off-frame restoration. Despite its classic old look, it's a brand new car.
Okay.
It's got a 502 fuel-injected ramjet engine in it.
So we got to end this once and for all on this channel. because you're gonna teach me today. Okay, so what is the 502, 350? You know, what is?
It's the size of the motor.
The size of the motor. Okay.
You know, and it's a contemporary motor. It's not something that's from the classics. It's a newer motor, right? So this motor has 5,000 miles on it.
Okay.
But it's this is a true restomod.
Okay.
Everything about this car, when you go inside it, when you drive it, feels, looks, breathes, acts new, except for you have a classic look on the outside of the car. It's 4-wheel disc brakes, modern suspension.
Okay.
Like I said, it's fuel injected. It's a 72-year-old car with a backup camera.
Gotcha.
If you want to jump inside and connect your phone,
you're good to go.
Make a phone call, go ahead. Yeah, it's good. Power windows, air conditioning, all the modern accoutrements that you would expect from any other car, except for it's a 51 Mercury Lead Sled.
So where does the Bill Bostic story begin? Does one, kind of get grandfathered into a $50 to $60 million a year firm? Do you come from money, or are you an entrepreneur? Which is all fine, by the way. I say that with no judgment. We have some folks that get apprehensive to come on the show because in their mind they don't feel like they earned the right because they maybe inherited their money. But I also think there's a story there, because when you inherit money, you have the task of keeping and growing it and becoming a great steward for it. But where does Bill Bostic...
Sometimes more challenging.
Yeah.
Keeping it is harder than earning it sometimes. A lot of people are very offensive with money, and they're horrible at defense. And we live in a world, and especially a country that's high consumption. So if you're born into that and you don't have discipline, it's easy to waste it. So.
Okay. So again, where does the Bill Bostic story begin? Where are you originally from?
I'm originally from Southwest Philadelphia.
Okay.
Grew up in a row home with, 3 siblings, and my father was a print press operator. My mom was a bank teller. So.
So you guys weren't swimming in cash? It doesn't sound like it.
What's that?
Doesn't sound like your family was swimming in cash.
No. We were swimming in ramen noodles. No, I mean, I wouldn't trade my childhood for anything. I had a great childhood.
Awesome.
I had a great family, but we just didn't have means, and nobody around us did either. So we didn't know what we were missing.
Okay.
But I wanted more than that. As I got older, I got into the trades early in my life.
Okay. How early?
I was mixing cement at 12 years old, for a guy named Oni Goldheim. He was a residential contractor in the city.
Interesting point. I'm starting to realize that many of, not all, right, but many of the entrepreneurs that we meet, they have some type of a working story, working for money or trying to, run their own situation as under the age of 15. It's normally like 14, 13, 12. I'm seeing a common thread there.
Yeah. So I had 2 jobs. I would do construction when Oni could hold me, had to work. And then I worked when I sold seafood off the back of a truck.
Okay.
I made $20 a day. And my mom used to make me disrobe outside when I got home because I just smelled
horribly.
like horrible. But she ate great. We would get, at the end of the day, I would bring lobster home for her.
Awesome.
And clams and stuff like that. So,
okay.
But I always hustled, and my siblings as well. I never wanted to rely on anybody. I always wanted to do my own thing and make my own decisions and be independent. And I didn't have much choice. My mother and father provided a really nice house, but they just didn't have means. Blue collar family, and they split when I was young, and I quit school when I was in 9th grade.
Really?
Yeah. And I went back to college later and did...
How long was that break?
Yeah, it was a minute. So yeah, it was. I went back and got my GED, and then got a college, and I went to Montgomery County Community College.
How old were you when you went back and got your GED?
20.
Wow.
Something.
Okay.
I had my first house when I was 22. I bought my first house when I was 22.
What were you doing during those years that you dropped out?
Oh, I had my own company when I was 18. Yeah, I had my first company when I was 18. My older brother worked for me and a couple of my cousins. And
oh, so you almost skipped over a major piece. You're like, oh, I had my first company when I was 18. So
yeah.
In construction?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you knew, is it fair to say you knew from the time that you were mixing cement that you wanted to get into construction, or did that come?
I love the trades. I love at the end of the day, there's certain gratification of being able to see something you built, at the end of the day. So I love the trades. I love, and so there are great people in the trades that are hard-working, honest people. And I loved everything about that. And I was really exposed to some great people that taught me a lot. And then, I got this idea of that, why am I trading hours for dollars?
At 18?
Yeah, it just didn't make any sense. I could see what, what the owner of the company was doing, what I was doing.
And it didn't add up.
There was a certain inequity in that, and I didn't much appreciate it. So, but I get, what it is. But I knew I was a capitalist very early on in my life. I knew I was an entrepreneur. I didn't want to work for anybody.
Beautiful. And we've got a matte turquoise, basically, or a matte.
Yeah, so you have this complementing color goes throughout the car. You'll find it inside the car with it's roped on the doors, in different trims. So it picks up the colors. Also, the fabric inside the car picks up the colors of the flames and different.
We're going to see that as we go in the interior, which I think is absolutely incredible. What are the figures on this? Like, what kind of output does this have, horsepower-wise, and all of that good stuff?
I'm not sure what the actual output of it is. I mean, it's a 502 ramjet, so that's the cubic inch of the engine. Mm-hmm. But I'm not sure what the horsepower is on it. It's a 350 tranny. And, all I can tell you is it's fast.
Out of curiosity, what aspect of the trades did you gravitate to the most?
I was a carpenter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, I was a carpenter. And I loved it. I mean, I still do it. I still do work in my own house. And there's just, again, there's something about working with your hands that's gratifying. It's therapeutic for me now because I don't have lawyers and accountants and people ringing my phone and
So the company you founded at 18, you said with your brother used to work for you.
Yeah.
That was not Axis. That was
No. Axis. I started Axis when I was in my 30s.
Okay. You're not in your 30s now.
No.
I'm kidding.
No, not even close.
Gotcha. How long did that first company last?
It was on and off. I did a lot of freelance work, and I did a lot of stuff like a subcontracting kind of stuff. Okay. And then I worked for a company that owned a bunch of apartments down in South Street area. So
doubling back to that really quickly, would you consider that more like self-employment? Was that like a really small operation?
Self-employment.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah. Awesome.
So I did work for a company. I did work for a construction company for a number of years.
Okay.
Which was a great company. It was a local company in Bryn Mawr, and they were great people. And I mentored under a great project manager there, senior level project manager, and the owner of the company really took an interest in me. So, but the other stuff, earlier stuff, was mainly we would flip these apartments. Like if you moved into the apartment and you moved out, we'd go in, paint the place, fix anything that was done, right? And we'd have this checklist of things, and then we would just bill them and get paid. And I would pay my guys on an hourly rate, and I owned the company. So, that was my first taste of, oh, okay, this is a lot.
Working for yourself.
Yeah, this is a lot different than trading hours for dollars.
Gotcha.
Right? Because even that, I had 3 crews that would go out to different, I would be working on one of them, but I had different crews that would go out to different apartments, and we'd flip 3 or 4 apartments, and then you get, there was so much of it that there was so much transient tenants that you could keep doing that, and we made we made a good deal of money on it. I mean, I was making at that age, at 20 years old, I was making what my friends' dads were making.
That's insane. That's nuts.
But it's not. It's not rocket science
That's
at
just
all.
normal. That's what it looks like when you're successfully working from the other end of the table.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, it's like sort of like we started talking about off camera. I mean, you don't have to see the whole journey. You just have to see the first couple of steps. I mean, if every entrepreneur thought about the entire journey, it would be so overwhelming. If you thought about that, putting this thing together, the entire journey, there's no way you'd do it. You'd be frozen. You'd be paralyzed, in what I do next, what do I do next? That's not how the real world works. So I have a very good friend of mine who always says to me, you eat an elephant one bite at a time.
Interesting.
And that's the way you run a business. That's the way you start a business. That's the way you have dreams come true. Yeah.
So after the self-employment period, when you said you went to work for a company, and this is the company, if I understand your background correctly, where you became, because you have extensive experience in construction, obviously, before even Axis comes into play. You have extensive experience as a senior project manager as well as the head of business development for a company as well.
I did some business development with those guys. I did estimating with them. I was a project manager. I was a superintendent. I was able to do a lot of things in that company and wear a lot of hats in that company. And there was a tremendous amount of autonomy they gave me. But also, it was just this really great mentoring in corporate culture. And we adopted that at Axis. We have the same policies.
Is that what prepared you the most to open Axis?
100%, 100%. In fact, when I first started the company, we were building data centers and computer, rooms, co-location facilities. And when I went to the partners I don't know if I can say the name of the company, but if I went to the partners at the company I was working for and asked and said, hey, I'm going to give my notice. This is what I'm going to do. I'm not competing with you guys because it's a completely different sector of the market. The owner of the company sat down with me and was like, it's really sad to see you go. We're had a good thing going here. Tell me about this new thing. And I told him a little bit about it. And, I didn't have much money saved up to start it, So he said, do you want any partners?
Before you finish that, I have to ask. I'm getting in the habit as we do this. I'm grading myself, and I feel like I'm getting better, hopefully, as someone who's conducting these interviews.
Okay.
But that being said, you said you didn't have much money saved. And I got to ask you that because we've got some great guests that we've had, and contextually.
Oh no! It's what you're thinking. So
the idea of what not much is.
Yeah, no, not much. So when I left a very, very good job with benefits and again, because I did as well as I did at that company, I commanded a certain salary that was probably above normal.
Okay.
And my wife at the time was pregnant with my son.
Well, this is years ago, right?
Yes.
So what's above normal? What was the salary?
Oh, my God, I don't even remember now. I was probably making $70,000.
Okay,
something like
got it. That's at that time that was above normal.
I mean, it could have been more than that. I don't know.
All right.
But my wife was pregnant with my son. And I went home and announced that I was quitting my job, and I was going to start this company. And
I imagine that went over fabulously.
She's very supportive. Always was, my ex. But she was insecure and she was pregnant.
Yeah.
What the hell are you doing?
Right.
And I said, you got to believe in me. I really, this is not what I'm supposed to be doing. I just, you ever get that feeling that you're just not where you're supposed to be, right? Yeah.
I've had that before. Yes.
Yeah. Well, that's listen to it, right? Because that's the good stuff. I've been looking for this car for many, many years, but one of the things that's been a deterrent to buying them is the way they've done the chop. Either it's too drastic and the lines don't look real,
Yeah.
or you can't see out of the windows, or the way they did the windows afterwards. If you have this much glass, it doesn't work. I mean, you can see here, these lines are perfect.
Beautiful. So we've got drill rotors, which I always love. I'm a fan of drill rotors on
Yeah,
cars. I think it's just a stylistic touch. I know a lot of, I don't know much about this era of vehicles, but today, one of my favorite newer cars is the Ford Shelby GT350 that they did in 2015 to 2020.
Yeah.
And until 2018, through 2018, all of those cars had drilled rotors. And then they went to a larger rotor in 19, but there was no, I think it just has a stylistic effect. I'm pretty sure the rotor itself is better without any drills or slots or anything, but I like the way it looks.
Probably not. I mean, they reject the heat a little bit better with the drilled slots. So there's different, reasons for doing it.
So you didn't really have much money.
So we didn't have any much.
Back
so we
to
didn't have any money.
the conversation with the.
I had spent some time putting together the idea and the business model and marketing it, and I had a few contracts and a few leads.
Okay.
And the company at the time looked, way bigger than it was. My first office was in the basement of my friend's building, and it was a sawhorses and a door was my desk.
But what did the owner of the previous company that you worked for say?
So they said, do you want any partners? And we'll do a cash injection, and we'll set you up, and we'll take a partnership.
Okay.
And I thought about it, and I was like, okay, how about we do this? Do the cash injection. I'll give you 20% return on your money if I can't, in the first 2 years. If I pay you back in the first 2 years with 20% return on your money, no partnership. If I can't pay you back, your equity stays. And they said, okay. Help them with the transition of the clients I was running at their company at the time. It helped for a way more harmonious transition of personnel. And it certainly helped me, and they were great people. And the controller of that company was incredibly bright, is an incredibly bright guy, and he helped me set up systems and things like that. I would have limped along doing. So I think I paid him back in a year, like the first year, or whatever.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think we did like $4 or $5 million in revenue our first year or something.
Wow. Okay, so you cracked $1 million your first year, 4 or 5.
It was me, and my ex sister-in-law, who was a bank teller when I met her, and she came on board to do my books, and I was flying all over the place doing data centers and doing construction management that way. So
that's incredible, man. So it's so funny because having studied success for a little while now and being an entrepreneur myself, a lot of people always have this term, self-made this and self-made that. And I think when you take a look at what it takes to be successful, I tell people all the time, there's nothing self-made about me at all. And I mean that with the greatest respect, because so much help has come along, to get me to where I am today. I think when people really take a look at their situation, there are so many people just, even from a mentorship standpoint, all that preparation you got working for an established company in construction, to the point where, instead of it being an ugly thing, like, somebody telling you you're not going to succeed, they want to invest in the company, and they gave you that cash injection. And, that's huge. Even you said your ex-sister-in-law, the part that she played in helping run the company and all those things, that's incredible.
And she put herself through school, one of the programs that we adopted as soon as we had enough reserves was tuition reimbursement programs and things like that. So we still, again, stolen directly from the corporate culture of the company I work with, who they were great people. So, and if I could say their name on camera, it's Gardner Fox is the company. But
you said it so fast, by the way, we didn't hear it.
Oh, sorry, it's Gardner Fox Construction, and they're in Bryn Mawr, and Brooke Gardner was amazing, Mark Fox was amazing.
Awesome.
And they had this really cool corporate culture where they would, I mean, that's where I went to school. So I didn't have any money for school, but I did 2 nights a week at Montgomery County Community College while I was paying a mortgage and working. And the deal was, if you keep above a B-, they pay 100% of your tuition.
How awesome is that?
Oh, we adopted it. We do it to this day at my company. So anybody who wants to come on, as long as you're with us longer than a year, I have my director of HR has gone all the way through, college, and not paid a nickel, like all of it, all of her college, and she still takes classes now. I mean,
what if you went to college already? And you've got student loans. Can I take? I can put in a couple hours.
I'm going to leave that alone. that seems to be a very popular subject to talk about.
Oh my gosh, that is so funny, man. Honestly, you can't take one situation without having the rest that comes with it. But I tell people I have some very expensive friends because I feel like I paid for my network right now.
That's a very good way to look at it. When people do go to college and creates that camaraderie, that's one.
Only because I went down the entrepreneurial path. Like if I was an engineer or something like that, then I could say, yes, I'm using this degree in this space right now. But so that's.
But I don't know. I mean, to your point, I don't think anybody does it on their own. But what you do have to do on your own is take the risk, which most people don't.
Absolutely. So 3 to 4 million, year one, out the gate. By the way, how do you feel at that point when you're doing 3 to 4 million your first year in business?
I
don't know.
Well, that's funny. Completely overwhelmed. I didn't even think about it at that point. I mean, I was doing everything. I was a one-armed paper hanger. I mean, I was running the books. I was doing the project management. I was doing the sales. I was doing the estimating. I was doing it all. And then I was telling you, there was a young kid who was working for a company that sold the HVAC units that we were installing in the data centers. And I said to him one day, I'm like, we got to be friends, and I was like, are you happy? And he's like, man, I hate this job. And I said, why don't you come work for me? And that was 20 years ago, and he will make partner this year. So,
wow.
And but yeah, the first couple of years were really overwhelming, and then my partner came on board year 3, I think.
Okay.
He was a coworker at our former firm, Gardner Fox.
Okay.
And lifelong friend and really, really great guy, rainmaker, a good business development guy, one of the best I've ever seen. And he had a great job. At that time, he was working for a mortgage company.
Okay.
I had to lure him away from there. And his wife was very reluctant. It was a great job. It was a lot of security.
And he came in as a partner.
I brought him in as a partner day one.
How does that work with something like that? Is there a buy-in?
I didn't charge him anything to come into the company.
Okay. You just knew
he was worth it.
You knew you wanted him on your
I
team.
knew he was the ingredient we needed.
Wow.
Yeah.
So he comes on board, and I'm imagining you're still averaging 3 to 4 million up until year 3, or did you?
Yeah, actually, incremental increases each year. The market was crazy back then. We're building these complex mission-critical facilities that were costing back then, $350 a square foot to build. There was, millions of dollars in infrastructure. So Gary came on board, and we had to develop a plan to move the company forward, and
now you're at 50 to 60.
Yeah. And it's
You 10X'd
it's steady. It's steady. Good clients and really fun, interesting projects, and where you get to a certain point where you're choosing the work you want, and it's that old adage, right? You have to hustle or you want to hustle, kind of thing.
So, what differentiates you and Axis from any other construction management company out there? From the ones that, if that's mid-size, what's a large company?
Oh, there's $500 million companies out there. There's huge companies right here in the Delaware Valley that do 250, 300 million. What differentiates us from them? I think the corporate culture is one of the main things that does that.
Okay.
We also do our own development work, so we get to see the project through a developer's eyes. We're proactive when it comes to anticipating the kind of problems that developers face, as opposed to just being a third-party consultant.
Okay.
We take an at-risk role for our assignments, and then for the multifamily residential adaptive reuse projects that we do that are on the National Historic Registry, we buy equity in those. We have skin in the game. So, our fees on the line are, cash up front on those deals, and we pay attention to them, So I think, what differentiates us the most, I think, is our people.
Okay.
We have a great corporate culture and incredibly talented.
How large is the company? How many employees do you have?
Just over 40.
Okay.
So it's not a huge company.
Gotcha.
And right now we're in a transition where my partner's retired, and his shares are being purchased by long-term executive level employees. So eventually the goal is to be a wholly owned executive run company. So,
Awesome.
I want employees to have the same kind of satisfaction about what they do each day.
And is your hope to grow your mid-sized company into a large, $500 million entity?
No, I never had I think I could grow Axis, and I could double the size of Axis, I think, if we wanted to, We have the talent, we have the client base to do so. We're very selective about the stuff we take. We're about the folks we work with.
Okay.
And, it's calculated growth.
So you said they're French design taillights, or French design lights, which means the lights are recessed.
They're Frenched.
Right? Gotcha.
Yes.
Frenched. Love this stylistic design. I didn't see that before.
Signal.
This is a turn signal?
Yeah.
That lights?
Yeah.
That's nuts. Okay, that's gorgeous.
Backup
man.
camera.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I love this this slope, just the lines, the curves on this thing. This just looks, it's so beautiful. The 50s were good for that, though. Cars that
they were bold. They were beautiful designs,
My goodness, man.
You could just follow the lines on the car, but just what I was saying to you about the chop. This is chopped, but it's not as dramatic as you would normally see something down like this low where it's unrealistic,
Yeah, that's nuts. So now we're gonna head inside. These doors are heavy as I don't know what. Yeah. And man, when you talk about just paying attention to just stylistic design, it's like,
speak up a little bit.
When we just speak about stylistic design, we've got the flames continuing inside throughout the interior. Fabric, we've got the color theme staying the same. And that's a wrap. Yeah, we gotta go. You wanna grab that? Shit. There's a tornado happening in the middle of our